Uh, Before I get into the really important stuff, I must tell you, you regular listeners to this program, a Molly story that happened today. Now, remember, she's in middle school. She's in sixth grade. And they were given an assignment in their, what was it, Kathy? Social studies class? I think it was social studies. They were given a quick assignment. The kids didn't know this was going to occur today, but they were told by their instructor to write just a brief, maybe 200 words, not even that, 150 words, maybe 100 words on whatever impressed them about the 9/11 anniversary over the weekend. And each kid, after it was all written, each kid stood up and read what he or she had written, and everybody clapped, and next kid. Came Molly's turn. And I didn't see her paper, but this is what she said when I picked her up today at school. I have to pick her up on Mondays because Mondays is choir and then piano. Can't wait for the school bus. So she got in the car. I said, "How's your day?" Which I always say when I pick her up. "Oh, it was great, Dad." "Any tests today?" "Nope." "Any grades today?" "Nope. We get progress reports tomorrow." "Okay, great. Anything unusual?" She said, "Well, we were supposed to write a few words about the 9/11 commemoration anniversary. And so I did, and all the other kids did. And she said every time somebody read their little piece, everybody would clap. She said, when I read my piece, nobody clapped." Right. Oh, God. She told this to Kathy also. I said, "What did you write?" She said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember specifically what she said. She said, "Well, I wrote that the attack on the trade towers represented an attack on American greed and capitalism." And she said, as far as the Pentagon was concerned, the Pentagon represented American order and power, and nobody ever talks about that. And then the almost attack on the White House, or on the Capitol, was all about the wars we cause. I said, "Then what?" She said, "Well, that was it." And I sat down and nobody clapped. Uh-huh. "What did your teacher say, Molly?" She said, "Well, he said," when I sat down, he said, "Well, Molly, you're not wrong." Whew. She told you that part, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, my God. Well, that's just the way it goes. And Kathy tried to explain to Molly the reason the other children did not applaud what you said. First of all, the applause is probably just perfunctory. You know, each kid stands up, does their bit, and everybody goes, "Oh, yay." And Kathy said this to her. Probably the reason they didn't applaud was because they don't have the frame of reference that you do. Kathy said, "I doubt very much." You know, you have to keep in mind, Molly, what your parents do for a living and what you overhear and what we talk about, what Daddy and I talk about at dinner, or what you hear. You know what your father talks about on the air. And the other kids probably have their parents give them a whole different perspective, if any. Most parents, Kathy said to Molly, don't talk about that stuff because it's all about death and destruction and bad things and nightmarish stuff. And Molly said, "Oh." She said, "Well, I thought maybe it was what I said." And then I chimed in and said, "Listen, always state your case. Always tell the truth as you know it. You can't make stuff up. You can't embellish and lie and deceive and, you know, like you hear on television. But if you believe something and you've done enough research," now in this case, of course, she was relying on her parents. She hears us talk, so she relies on us to be telling or giving a perception that is not wrong. I said, "But if you believe this, if you believe these things, stand up and say it. And if you ever get in trouble while you're a kid, if you ever get in trouble for speaking the truth, your mom and I will be right there, wherever it is. Be it Girl Scout, well, it wouldn't be at Girl Scouts because Kathy's a troop leader. But if you're at your choir rehearsal, if you're at acting, she's going to be in another little play. What is it? The James and the Giant Peach. If you're at rehearsal, if you're in school, if you're on the playground, whatever, and these issues come up and you get hassled or harassed, just let us know. Well, that's one of the functions of parents, to protect you. I just thought that was rather interesting. And I have to admit, at first, when she told us the story, I felt this twinge, almost like, ooh, don't say things that are that true. That was the thought. Thank God I didn't say it, because after I listened to her whole story and then listened to what Kathy said and so on and so forth, I thought, Jesus, Malloy, be ashamed of yourself for even thinking that thought. Of course any kid should be able to state their case without fear of censure or any kind of verbal abuse, Oh, God, I hope they never asked a question in class about what do you think of guns or Republicans. Oh, my God.